does my blackness offend you? Why does my skin tone threaten you? Why does this melanin make me less than you? You hate us when we're standing in our truth. Black people, you gotta be true to you. Let your hair hang down, let it kink up too. Let that skin glow right, glisten off for you. Melanin shines bright, this is how we do. Why is my natural hair too much to endure? My lips are big and full so I can speak for. My nose are wide as the sky. Been trying to bring us down, but we still fight. My fire is dominant, yet you wanna stifle it. Determination's obvious, yet you wanna oppress it. Blood still bleeds red, don't treat us like we're less than. That black boy joy and that black girl magic. Unapologetically, 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 unapologetically black.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Artists. I'm your host, Omar Rashid. February 17, 2019. We're celebrating African Americans in the arts, and I'm here with three big shots. I'm so nervous right now. We have the blogger, Annette Blake. We have, well, this guy here, everybody knows this guy. He was the actor, dancer, radio talk show host, Linwood Jackson. We had Dana Monet, who was the awesome music that you heard in the background. Good morning.
Good morning, Omar.
Good morning. All right. Okay, now let's start off with you, the blog. How do you get into being a blog writer? First of all, what is blogging? You know, some people may not know what they might have heard of it, but may not necessarily know what is blogging. And just describe to us and the viewing audience what is blogging and how long you got into it and why you got into it.
Thank you, Omar. Yes, a blog is simply an online journal. Is where you go to write your thoughts, whether or not it could be music, it could be politics, it could be anything. But an online journal that where you're just turning that passion, which is what I did, into a profession. And I literally started blogging in 2015 to fill a void. I was the caregiver for my grandma, who lived to be the ripe old age of 98 years old.
Awesome.
And I realized once she transitioned that I had a whole lot of extra time and I didn't know what to do with it. So one thing that she did teach me was how to thrift, how to save money. So my very first blog was about thrifting, fashion and fun after 50. And that was great, it was fun. So I started writing and I was recognized for my writing and it just catapulted from there. So if you are a writer, which is what I consider myself, and that's what a blogger is. However, a blogger can also be a musician, an artist, a politician. Blogging is a great way to leave your legacy for those that are coming up after you. And it's just something that I've been doing now. I'm known as the Dell Blogger. I've received numerous awards and I actually teach blogging to others.
All right. Denzel Washington, how long you been acting?
Now, I've been acting since '09.
Oh, well, how'd you get started?
How'd I get started? I got started. Well, you were one of the, as I think you invited me to be in one of your plays, Omar. You and Miss Connie Drummond, and I was in plays with you guys, and I just grew from there. I went on to the Wilmington Drama League, and got in some musicals, and now I was singing and dancing on stage. And then from there, we got into movies.
Okay, now, speaking of movies, you was just in a major local movie that we have here. What's the name of it? What is your role? And talk about where it was played.
Delaware Shore is a feature film, and my role was Sean in that movie. And we premiered in Hollywood, California through the end of December, and then we premiered our New York premiere in the end of December. And then in the beginning of January, we were in the Cinemax on the riverfront here in Delaware.
Now, your character, Sean, what type of character was he?
Sean was befriended the main character in the movie called Gallagher, and he's a coffee shop owner, and we did a lot of film in and around Delaware, up and down the state, and it's actually filmed in, what do you call it, Slaughter Beach. Right. Slaughter Beach is where the main home is, and then my character was a coffee shop owner in Newark, Delaware, and where the college town. And so I befriended the main character Gallagher, and he. The story goes from there, actually.
All right. So did you audition for the role, or you just?
I did audition.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I auditioned.
Okay.
I actually, it's funny you should ask, because I auditioned for one character, and it was a Denzel type character.
Right.
And I rehearsed and got in there, and the director had me read it like 10 times before he decided I wasn't going to be that character, and he gave me the role of Sean, and I read that like 2 times, and it was like made for me.
That's
I
great.
suppose.
Well, even though you didn't get the one role, there was still another opportunity for you.
Exactly. Don't give up, or be discouraged if you don't get the role or the play that you wanted to get, because there's another one there for you.
All right. Okay. All right, Dana. Let's talk about your music career. How'd you get started being a singer?
Well, I've been singing since I could walk, since I could talk, about 2 years old, but I've been trying to get into it professionally since about 18. Most recently, I've been managing myself, so I'm on the independent artist train, which is pretty common nowadays, as going the other route as opposed to the major label. Right. So I'm releasing, my own music on my own, and trying to find places to perform and things like that. My single, Unapologetically Black, that you heard right before the segment started, is available now, and all over digitally, and I'll be having an EP coming out in March as well.
When I was listening to that song, I heard a strong message in terms of loving yourself, loving your hair, loving your facial features, which throughout the history, particularly in the African American community, sometimes we had issues with our skin complexion or our facial features. So what made you write that song?
Well, I don't particularly like to use this word, but sometimes it kind of culminates everything. So I consider myself to be a very woke person, very conscious of what's going on in the Black community, and self-love, particularly Black love, and loving yourself, and us building our community, and generational wealth and stuff like that. So I kind of talk about all of that in the song, in addition to the natural hair, and the facial features, and us just being great and creative at what we do, and it's a celebration, anthemic type of song.
Definitely. Now I want to ask all three of you, and all your line of work, you perform in front of an audience, whether it's a stage play, whether it's singing, and you've done so much in terms of being a presenter. We'll start off with you. When you're in front of that live audience, if you're nervous, how do you overcome that nervous? Or so some people like when I do my plays in front of an audience, I love their feedback. That gives me more motivation. I love performing in front of others. So let's talk about your experiences in terms of performing in front of a large audience.
Well, they say if you're not nervous, you're not ready.
Yeah.
The nerves, it is the catalyst. It makes things so much better because you're out there and you're doing something that you're passionate about. Whether it's acting, it's singing, it's presenting, it's podcasting, whatever it is. If you're passionate about it, the nerves kind of subside, but they say if you're not nervous, then you're not ready, right? So that's, nervousness is a good thing. It's that's what God gives us inside to help us prepare. It's a warning symptom. Sometimes we can feel that inside, it's nervousness, and then sometimes it's like, you know what? I was meant to do this. Let's get it. And then, like you said, with audience, once your audience starts to, you find that one person that's smiling, or you find that one person that's nodding their head, they get it, and it's like focusing on that person, because now, you know what? They got it. I got it.
You're such an upbeat person. I can't see you being nervous.
No, my tagline is, when you wake up looking up, everything else is gravy, baby.
There you go. All right, Lynn, well, you've been in different plays and things of that nature there, and you're also a dancer. You dance in front of others. So what's the experience like for you in terms of performing in front of a live audience?
My first experience, Omar, was interesting, because you asked about, are you nervous, and how do you overcome nervousness? Right. And for me, I don't think it's not so much nerves. It's more like, I call it the butterflies. Okay. And how I overcome that is through preparation. That's where rehearsal comes in. You know what you're gonna. If you give a script out, for example, or if I'm giving a speech, you wrote the speech out. I don't wing too much of anything. I'm very, very scripted. To pardon the pun. But so you go over your lines, you go over your speech, you rehearse. You can't over rehearse. actually. And then when you get out on stage, it comes natural. You just go. You know what I mean? Hopefully it'll go according to plan, but it never goes according to plan. You always got to tweak something here and there, and just be able to just wing it or whatever. But at least you have a roadmap to where you're going when you prepare. My first experience on stage, my stage play, a big audience. We rehearsed, and then we had the curtain call, and I went out. Or dress rehearsal. And went out for the first time when they had lights and music and everything. Before that, we were just rehearsing. And now we're going to do it like a real performance. And so I went out, the lady went before me and in my cue, and I went out and the lights went bam. And I said, wow. And right then and there, I missed my line because, I was supposed to deliver, but I was shocked. It was like a deer with the lights turned on, and so I just had to leave, you know what I mean? I left the stage, and I went back, and the young folks, the young kids were laughing at me. They were like, they turn around, they don't want to laugh in front of you, right? And I said, when I went, I rehearsed a little bit more, and the next time I went out, everybody was waiting, and the lady went out, and my cue came on. I went out and delivered and left. I went back and I looked at the kids and I said, now what? And they were like, they gave me a high five. That was my first time out and my first glitch. But then from then on, I was always prepared. So that's my tip to get over the nervousness is preparation.
Now, I would imagine, being a political figure as well as being the president of NAACP, you're always addressing some form of audience that also kind of helps you out in terms of what your experience being in front of others.
Oh, yeah. Performing prepares you to speak in front of crowds, and the more you do it like anything, the better you get, and the nervousness goes away. So, for example, I don't need as much scripts anymore. When I'm going to give a speech, I gave the speech 10 times, so I don't have to go over the script so much. It just comes. And all of that performing arts prepares you to read. Write is great for kids. To get in, I encourage all parents to get their kids involved into the arts. And back when we were in school, or when I was in school anyhow, they had arts and music and singing and dancing. It just disappeared out of the schools for whatever reason. But it's been proven that it fosters well-rounded individuals. You can travel the world and speak to most anybody, or sing, or dance, or whatever. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say this real quick. When we did the premiere in Hollywood, I get out to Hollywood, the first thing I asked was, where's the Latin dancers at? And so after our filming, I had a little bit of time, and I went out to dance. They had a Cuban restaurant and dance, and the band was there, and I was like, I felt right at home because that's what we do here, and then wherever you go, you can just deliver. And we had a great time dancing in Hollywood as well.
So then I would say that yours is probably harder than anybody's because when you sing, you got to be on point. So but then again, if you're singing and they love you, they'll cheer you right in the middle of your song. So just talk about your experience in terms of performing in front of a live audience.
Well, definitely. For me, it's all like mind over matter. Just gotta get out there and do it. That's how I look at it. I mean, they came here to see a show, so I got to do it. Nerves notwithstanding, but I just want to echo what they were saying because yes, nerves are good. It gets the adrenaline going, and practice makes perfect. Even though everything is not always perfect, because there's always something that happens, although the audience may not see it, it may be something. So I've learned the art of being able to recover from doing certain things. So definitely the preparation and the passion and practice. I just realized those were all P's. So 3 P's, that works out, and it works out well.
In terms of your music, is there anyone that you might model yourself after, or people say, you know what, you sound just like her? And then what type? Are you R&B? Are you neo soul? Or are you reggae? Or what are you?
Well, I'm definitely R&B soul. That's my style of music, and I get very often that I sound like Toni Braxton, and so I like a lot of the deep voice singers. I get Toni Braxton the most, but I also enjoy listening to Phyllis Hyman and Anita Baker. And in terms of like the overall like full package, entertaining, performing, I look up to Beyonce, and I also look up to Whitney as well as far as singing. A lot of female influences, obviously, but like the Michael Jacksons and things like that, I look up to them as well.
Right. Now, top of the program, you said that you're your own manager. What made you go that route as in terms of going out and looking for a manager?
I'm definitely not against having a manager. It would definitely be helpful, but I think the main thing is that I'm able to do it. In 2019, technology and the internet, social media has enabled you to be your own business and your own brand. There's so many people, especially like the millennials, I'm in that category, that are doing everything on their own. And not to say that you don't need help, but it's good to know that you can, and you can put your art out there whenever you feel like it. So I think that's the main reason why I'm doing it, because it's possible.
Right, definitely. Now, in addition to Toni being a blogger, you also have your iPad, your show, your
my
radio show,
podcast,
podcast,
Yes,
podcast.
yes.
So talk about that.
And just like Monet was saying, in the generation of millennials and Gen Z, this is a do-it-yourself generation, and podcasting is now overtaking blogging, social media,
wow.
Snapchat,
Okay.
Instagram, Pinterest, because podcasts, you can listen to it anywhere, and
Yeah.
the genres can range from music, politics,
Right.
health and wellness, and it's so easy. And it's another, I always tell people that if you create a podcast, and I'm going to tout Anchor FM because that is a free platform, and I talk to many people about starting their own podcast to just to build your brand. Whatever your brand is, you need to build on it. Obviously, my brand is as a blogger, but as a podcaster, I encourage people to, I invite people on my show. You were a guest on my show, and these guys are going to be a guest on my show eventually, where if you're doing something positive in the community, share it. There's always someone that needs to hear what you have to say. There's an audience for everyone, for every topic, and to start a podcast is just a great way to connect, to be inside somebody's pocket, because a podcast is, on your smartphone. It's not the days where, like Linwood said, you had to have that radio, or you had to watch television. A podcast, and I enjoy it every Sunday.
So take me through the steps. Like if I wanted to do my own podcast, how would I start? How would I do it?
Well, there's 3 things I want you to think about. What is going to be your topic? What's your passion? We're going to get to the 3 Ps. Whatever your passion is. So for you, you may be a playwright, it may be an author, whatever your passion is, you're going to choose your topic. And then your purpose. What are you trying to do? How are you trying to connect with your audience? Are you trying to educate them? Are you trying to entertain them? Are you trying to be inspirational? And then be patient, because it takes time to build an audience. So once you decide what platform, because there are many platforms out there, Blog Talk, Stitcher, iTunes, but again, Anchor FM, you can start right now. Free app on an iOS, Android phone. You just create the podcast, have that practice what you want to say, and be persistent, be consistent. Because just like a blog, when you are building an audience, they're going to be looking for your voice. And you have to be consistent. Consistency is key. Content is amazing. That's king, but make sure that the content you put out there is just not crap. It's like people want to share it, and then build a community. Have people around you that are going to support you, they're going to listen to you. So the 3 Ps and the 3 Cs, the best way to start a podcast and or a blog. And again, I invite everyone to go check out Anchor FM on their smartphone. It's a simple app you download and you're ready.
Oh, wow, so that sounds easy.
Yeah, easy. Now, if you want to build a podcast, an in-studio podcast, we don't have time to talk about that today. That's something I do teach. Hint, hint. But but to start your podcast, it's simple. Just have a clear message. Don't just, your brand is your brand. Your brand is your bond. And in today's world, your digital footprint is very important. And I'm going to be speaking with some high schoolers at William Penn on Thursday, and I'm going to talk to them about, building that brand on LinkedIn. Because people are looking at you. Whether they're listening to you, they're seeing you on social media, they're seeing you on television, seeing you in a play, going to your event. You have to build that brand, and your brand is your bond, and it can make or break you. Trust and believe. I know that.
And then you also have your own radio show. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, we did. I'm actually a founding member of the first African-American owned and operated radio station in Delaware, WHG 95.3, founded by Mr. Hyman, who has a talk show on this very station as well. So we've been over there now. I'm on the Linwood Jackson radio show every Friday. at 5 to 6. But I would like to concur with the podcast segment. You were just talking about podcast. I do have a podcast as well, the Urban Compass with Linwood Jackson. I speak about a variety of issues, although I should have a niche like what Toni was saying. And the good thing about podcasts, they are easy to start. I'm on Stitcher, and they go around the world. So if you're talking to somebody about something in particular, may not be of interest here locally, but may be of interest in Australia, for example. And they'll pick your book up. I know you guys have a book, both of you, and you have a CD. And you're on a podcast talking about it. Since it goes around the world, they're here in Australia. I'm going to use Australia as an example, but really anywhere. And they hear Dana's song, and they might like it. And they'll want to fly her in, and there she is, or your book, or whatever it is that you're speaking on. And that's the good thing about podcasts, and they don't cost much to get going, but it's important, and also you can monetize that as well. But the radio station's going real well. You know, we did a TV show as well. Since '09, I've been on TV and radio, talking about the issues, the solutions, and the fun stuff too. And now I'm moving into podcasting, and I'm working on that, focused on that radio station. But a little bit more about, you know, when you buy a new car nowadays, they're not putting in CDs anymore. You remember back in the day they had the 8-track? Some of y'all remember the 8-tracks,
yes.
and you put it in there, then the cassettes, and your zip drive, and your CD. Well, now it's podcast. You get a new car, you don't see any of that. You might see a zip in there, but to charge your phone up or what have you, a UBS port. But podcast is what you click on a podcast and anywhere in the world and pick up your show and play your music. So podcast, I think, is technology. You got to be updated with technology.
Yeah, definitely. You know, since this is African American History Month, and in terms of the arts, I want to ask you, all three of you, who are some of the well-known or even local African American artists that you admire, and why? Let's start off with Dana.
Well, I feel like I mentioned a couple of them earlier,
Right.
but I'm very into like listening to independent artists now,
okay,
since
okay.
I'm, you know, an independent artist.
Right.
I know that I know they're kind of like blowing up now. They're not really an independent artist anymore, but I really enjoy listening to Chloe and Halle. I know they're signed to Beyonce. There's another artist I really enjoy listening to, Jade Nova. She started on like YouTube and stuff like that, and doing covers, and kind of blew up. And I listen to everybody, you know, so it's been a lot of people. Another like local artist here, Naja Nicole, I remember her from The Voice, and I listen to her music, and so anybody that the music is available, I mean, they just automatically put these songs on playlists, so you just listen, and you know, you might hear mine one day, so
There you go.
yeah.
All right, Linwood.
Well, I like to, you know, on the radio station and the show, I like to showcase a lot of our up-and-coming artists like Dana. We have Dexter Kuntz and Alfie Moss. They're not up-and-coming. They're actually there, but they are local. Skip Bortley Jr. We have Toni Trower with Anaya Jazz. There's just a whole host of performers locally here that are great performers. Tony, Big Cat Smith, and Gerald Chavis, and on and on and on. I know you had a lot of them on your show. But when you're out there, young folks trying to get started in any niche and field, I suggest they channel some of these guys. And older for me and performing and the work that I do, I like to channel Harry Belafonte and Danny Glover, guys that are actors and activists out there that's doing it and speaking truth to power. So there's a few of the tips that I have. You don't have to be alive either. You want to be a singer, you can channel some of those great performers that did it before us and see how they did it.
So
And the great Les Brown, the motivator of the motivators. I was listening to Les Brown in the 80s, when I was in corporate America. We had the motivational speakers, and Les Brown has always been, will always be, someone that I listen to every day. I start my day every day listening to Les. So he has something to say for everyone, and he motivates me to do and be the best that I can be.
Okay, Dana, before we close out, let the people know how can they get your latest CD?
Yes, so my
Oh,
single.
they need a single, sorry.
I don't know
yeah.
if I should look here or there. So my single, Unapologetically Black, is available on all digital platforms now. It came out on February 15th, so that includes iTunes, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play Music, just name a few. Just type in my name, DaynaMonet. You will find my music, and be on the lookout for my EP that's coming out towards the end of March as well.
Okay, Lynn, you got any closing words for 30 seconds or any upcoming events or shows?
Yeah, I do. I'm in a stage play now with the Wilmington Drama League called Ruin. It's a great play about the Congos and what they're doing over in Africa. Also, you can find out more about what's going on with Linwood Jackson by Googling Linwood Jackson. And it'll pop up, everything will pop up. And also tune in on WHG 95.3 FM each and every Friday, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and listen to our show.
And you can find the Delaware Blogger. Just use the hashtag Delaware Blogger. I'll pop up everywhere. And that's me, Antoinette Blake, the DE Diva, a.k.a. the Delaware Blogger.
All right. All right. On that note, I just thank all three of you for being guests today. It was a wonderful show. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank all three of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Artists. I'll be back in 2 weeks. God bless and have a safe week. All right, ladies. All right.
You hate us, but you love us, so you try to be like us. Fake reinventions of what's been true to us. We weren't included, so we had to create our own. Something about our you call us the original. Fire is dominant, yet you wanna stifle it. Determination's obvious, yet you wanna oppress it. Blood still bleeds red. Don't treat us like we're less than. That black boy joy and that black girl magic. Promoting self-love for generations to come. It's not about exclusion. This is our celebration. Oh, yeah, yeah. Ooh, sing a song with me now. Sing it louder. Can you sing it with me? From Black America to the whole damn diaspora, think generationally so we can build a